Michigan State, the highest ranked Big Ten team right now in the conference, third in the college football playoff polls. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Big Ten Ted coming at you here today for a game preview. Undefeated Michigan State going on the road to Purdue. All right, let's talk about MSU. They're coming off an emotional comeback victory against their arch rival in the Michigan Wolverines. Everybody's telling you how good you are, ranked third in the country in the playoff polls. Mel Tucker has one job this week in this game against Purdue. Tell the team how not good they are. Okay, Nick Saban refers to it as rat poison at Alabama. The media telling you how good you are. You're undefeated. You're ranked this high. Look, this game has Michigan State undefeated, they're ranked highly within the top four, control their own destiny as it pertains to the college football playoff. You go on the road to Purdue, a team notoriously known for knocking off top five opponents, whether at home or on the road. Trap game city, emotional win, your arch rival last week, comeback fashion. Huge performance from Kenneth Walker. Will they have a letdown? So let's look at this game for MSU, how they match up. First of all, on defense for Michigan State, they don't match up great with Purdue, but I'll kind of break that down a little bit more. This Michigan State defense dead last in the Big Ten in pass defense. They're giving up 300 yards per game. You saw last week what Cade McNamara, I probably wouldn't call him the Big Ten's best quarterback. I like what Cade McNamara did against this MSU pass defense. They're allowing big-time yards. They're allowing big-time points. So that's one area they got to shore up against a team in Purdue that you know they're going to look to throw the ball. I mean, look how they beat Iowa. Throwing for over 300 yards. David Bell was close to 250 in that game. That's the big matchup right there as it pertains to when Purdue has the football. Is Michigan State going to be able to bring in and corral and contain David Bell in this game? Or is David Bell going to have another game like he did against Iowa? Now, let's talk about David Bell. In those two games following the Iowa game, he hasn't gone over 100 yards. Last week, I think it was 74 yards on 9 catches against the Nebraska defense on the road. So maybe teams have said, whoa, if David Bell can do that against Iowa, he could definitely do that against us. We got to key in on him. And that's what Michigan State has to do. They got to key in on David Bell. If they can contain and maybe even stop David Bell, that might be the key to victory for Michigan State. But that's a tall order because Sparty hasn't really proven that they can stop much of anybody in terms of the pass game. But let's keep talking about it. Let's keep breaking it down. That's the secondary. Let's move to the front seven. Okay? There's an interesting matchup here. Michigan State second in the Big Ten in sacks, trailing only Ohio State. Purdue, they give up a lot of sacks, right? In 2 games this year, Aiden O'Connell threw 3 interceptions against Wisconsin. He threw 1 interception against Minnesota. In both of those games, Aiden O'Connell was sacked 4 times, which tells you what? Which tells you when the pass rush gets into the backfield and they're bringing him down, they're also forcing Aiden O'Connell into making mistakes. So for Purdue, haven't done it a lot this year, but they need to shore up that pass protection against a good Michigan State pass rush. If Purdue can contain this pass rush, give Aiden O'Connell a little bit of time to sit back and throw, we know Aiden is a serviceable quarterback. We know he can distribute it to his receivers, David Bell and the other weapons that Purdue has in this offense. So they need time. But Michigan State has had a really good pass rush this season. If Michigan State, if Sparty can get into the backfield and disrupt Aiden O'Connell, he's proven he can make mistakes, and maybe that's where Michigan State can capitalize. When it comes to running the football, that's exactly what Michigan State wants to do. Right? Kenneth Walker, 1,100 yards, 14, 15 touchdowns this season. He's a Heisman contender. If you don't think he's a Heisman contender, you're not plugged in. You don't know what's going on. He has been outstanding from the word go. What he did week 1 against Northwestern to what he did last week against Michigan, he's been outstanding running the football, and we still got a lot of football to be played. Purdue not great against the run. A couple of weeks ago, they almost allowed a total of 300 yards to Wisconsin. The combination of Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi went wild on that Purdue front. So Michigan State's going to look to run the ball right away because that is a weakness of this Purdue team. Now, Purdue doesn't have a bad defense. I also wouldn't call them a good defense. I call them to average to above average. They got good players. George Karlaftis coming off that edge. Ken Michigan State. They've got pretty good tackles on the outside and pass protection. So I think Michigan State could have a good day in trying to contain George Karlaftis and allow it. Because if you keep him out of the backfield, I think that's a big key to playing well against this Purdue defense. But they're going to look to run the ball. In recent history, that's proven that you can run the ball on this Purdue team. So Michigan State is going to look to do that. And Kenneth Walker is really the key to victory for them. He's been the key to victory all season long. I'm curious, once we get into a game late in the season where a team contains him or maybe even stops Kenneth Walker, can Peyton Thorne go out there and can he make plays? Peyton was impressive early in the season. He slowed down a little bit, right? The Indiana game, not as impressive. Okay, this last game against Michigan, threw 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. Not as impressive. It was a Kenneth Walker kind of day in East Lansing. I just want to see it, because if you're a playoff team, you're going to have to put the ball in the air. You're going to have to be a balanced offense. Is Peyton Thorne ready? Is he at that level to do that at a top 4 type of level? Personally, right now, as of this very day, I say no. But hey, go out there and prove it to me, and I will be very much willing to change my mind and say that you can do this. Very interesting game. Said it at the top of the preview. This is trap game material. Purdue has done it before. And I could very well see, with everybody telling Michigan State how good they are and how they're in the top 4 in the playoff, they control their own destiny. I would not be surprised in any way if Purdue comes out victorious in this game. I mean, look how Indiana played against them. Indiana's not a great team this year. If Indiana had half an offense, maybe the Hoosiers would have won that game. There have been games where Michigan State has not been impressive this season. The Nebraska game, the Indiana game, maybe those are games that they should have lost. Are they the least impressive number 3 team in the country? I don't know. But sometimes they're hot and cold. They'll put on a great performance against a good team and then come back with games like they played against Indiana. This is going to be a big game for me in terms of the trajectory of this team, but Mel Tucker has got to have this team ready to play. And I believe Mel Tucker's a great coach. He comes from the Nick Saban coaching tree. I don't think you're going to see a Michigan State team that's going to come out flat and just be beaten like the way Iowa was almost against this Purdue team. I want to hear what you guys think. Is this trap game city? Will Michigan State fall into the trap, or will Mel Tucker have Big Green ready to play? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Big Ten Ted for Big Ten football content. We'll see you in the next one.